Firewise program is it's actually Firewise USA. It's a national program from NFPA, and it's designed to help communities come together at a grassroots level to improve the resiliency of their neighborhood. Los Altos Hills is the perfect place for the Firewise program. They have motivated communities that do have some wildfire risk, and this brings resiliency to the communities. It's an area where education is important because there's ridges and slopes and hills and all the factors that play into these big wildfire catastrophes.
So Firewise is a program, it's a nationwide program set up by the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA. The concept of that is a grassroots neighbor helping neighbor. The idea is it's in a geographical location that they have in common. So they all have the same risk factors and kind of the same evacuation needs and the same vegetation management needs. So it takes those residents working together to be part of the solution for the wildfire problem. A lot of the roads here are very narrow, somewhat overgrown, private roads, with a lot of people living on them. So they're all needing to leave at the same time. They all have a geographical relationship to each other, and they need to leave on the same time and then go into just a few major thoroughfares in Los Altos Hills.
Saddle Mountain in particular is at the top of a ridge, the top of the mountain, Saddle Mountain. Fire burns up. So anything that has happened in fire behavior below them, whether it's a car fire along a roadside, if it's not caught quickly and early, it has the potential to spread right uphill. And California is in a decade of drought. So all of the moisture content of the plants is very low, abnormally low. And so that raises the risk of wildfire.
Well, you're only as safe as your neighbors make you. If you do a lot to clear your property, but your neighbors don't, then you're at risk.
Well, if my neighbor doesn't do something to protect his or her property, a spark could come over here and that could do it. My house is wood. The shakes are too. So I'm, so to speak, very combustible.
These kinds of programs like the Firewise are going to bring to visibility the fact that, you know, just because you live in a wildland area doesn't mean you can't, you know, do property hygiene. And I think it encourages and it gives people the proper guidance on what to do. This particular approach seems to provide people an integration and an opportunity to get to know one another. So I think that kind of building of community, I think, is a very strong advantage of the program.
As a first responder responding into those fires, it's very hard to see the community struggle through that. They rally together generally afterwards to rebuild their community, but what can we do so that we're not having to rebuild? And that's what we want to work on in Los Altos Hills. We want to have the most beneficial outcome prior, that we won't have that fire possibly come through. As if all of the residents in Los Altos Hills were to establish a Firewise community in their neighborhood, you're going to see a Los Altos Hills that is fire adaptive, and a Los Altos Hills as a community that is more resilient, that's more prepared, that understands the risk for wildfires.
Oh, I think that's a pretty good summary of what we're all about. So
that was a great video. I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me turn it off. There we go. Okay.
This will be part of the recording too, right, Victoria? Yes. So if somebody's watching this recording, they'll see that video.
Yes, I'm going to have to edit out some things, and yeah, I could play that first. And then why don't we do an official welcome? Do you want to do an introduction, Drew?
Sure. Well, we got here today our good pal from Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council. Get all the fire things correct here. And Tara, if I'm pronouncing your name right, Wallach?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And your remind me again, your title at the Fire Safe Agency is?
It's the COE coordinator. It's the Community Outreach and Education Coordinator.
Ah, okay, very good. Well, anyway, she she volunteered to outreach to us and present us our education moment, I guess you'd call it, from the Fire Safe Council. And it's one of the requirements that we need to have is at least an annual education experience. It can be lots of different things, but we thought this would be good to kind of remind people about the Fire Safe Council and about the work that the Los Altos Hills County Fire District does, and just what the focus is for fire hardening and preparing our communities so that we can work together to make it as safe as possible. So Tara, if you want to just take it away, go ahead.
Okay, let me try sharing my screen. Let's see if it works. Okay, let's see. Can everyone see that screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, so as Drew said, my name is Tara Wallach. I'm the COE coordinator at the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council. So this picture for you guys is when they talk about a ring of fire, this is exactly what they're talking about. So when a fire starts, it starts in the middle and it spreads out. So this is actually across the bay that you're actually looking at that. So it's not right there. That's several miles away. So when they say ring of fire, it's very large. So we're going to talk about how to protect your home from wildfires. Let's see, and why is this not working now? Can't go to the next screen, you like that? There we go. Okay, our mission. We mobilize the people of the Santa Clara County to protect their homes, their communities, and environments from wildfires. So as you could see from the picture on the left, it's the same one on the right, but the one on the left is really, if a car drives by and it sparks, it's gonna light up a fire. With you guys on the top, that's where it's gonna go. So the picture on the right is after we've gone through and cleaned up the work for the roadway and done some defensible space. Today's goals, we're gonna talk about defensible space concepts, Ember awareness. We're gonna prepare you to analyze your own property. We're gonna give you a bunch of examples and then we'll have a Q&A. So defensible space. It creates the safe space for firefighters to protect your home. Defensible space reduces fuels, it protects your home, and it helps keep the forest healthy. Basically, when you clean up everything on the ground, it gives more oxygen and sunlight for the plants to grow and nourish properly. And if the firefighters can't get to your property, they're not going to be able to save your property. So we need to think about them too. Your immediate zone, you're 0 to 5 feet from your property. You don't want anything flammable. You want no plants, nothing flammable. You want all hardscapes. You want boulders, bird baths, pathways. If you think about it, you actually want to have like a dry zone as much around your foundation as property, around your property as much as possible. And you want to be able to have access to be able to walk around your property to make sure that you can get to everything. So 5 feet is not as much as some people realize. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to have 5 feet of like hardscape because it's not going to look nice and this and that. So here's some pictures, here's some examples. The one on the left, you can see they have a walk path and they have a bunch of hardscapes and it looks really pretty. The one on the right, so actually this is on my property and this is kind of proof. So we have 5 feet of concrete pretty much around our whole property as like a walk path and to keep our foundation dry. And this is the view outside of our window. Like you don't see it below you at all because when you're looking out, your view is looking straight down. So 5 feet is actually not as much as people think. So 5 feet is not bad at all. Your intermediate zone, that's your 5 to 30 feet area. You want to keep it, we call it your green zone. You can have it, that's like your lawn and things like that. Manicured, irrigated. You want to have it intermixed with hardscape features. You want to control the vertical and the horizontal spacing. So you want to put like stair path. You could have bushes like in this picture, but you want to keep them manicured, cleaned up, and things like that. So you can have your green zone. You just have to make sure you keep it looking nice. Excuse me. Your 5 to 30 feet zone, you want to avoid continuous planting like right up to your home. You want to remove branches within 10 feet of your home, like the tree branches, and use hardscape in a network to reduce the amount of fuel. So in this picture, you can see the tree that is right up by the house is just so far up there, it's just going to catch the house on fire. And then there's a bunch of other yard scaping that needs to be cleaned and things like that. So your vertical and your horizontal spacing are key. So your vertical flame height is going to be 3 to 5 times the height of your plant. So that's the thing you need to keep thinking about. You need to limb up your trees and you have to keep bushes low. So if you look in the picture at the bottom, so a 5-foot shrub, it's growing near the tree in the middle. So you have a 3-foot shrub and it's going to grow, 5 times the height of the plant. So you need 15 feet of clearance is needed at the top of the shrub to the lowest tree branch to make sure that that tree doesn't catch on fire. So that's like a lot of times people don't realize trees are supposed to have trunks before they blossom out and not just be like bush trees, which a lot of people are good about doing. Your horizontal distance, you want to have about 3 to 6 feet between plants. You want to keep the dead portions cleaned up and you want to keep leaves and needles cleaned up. Like I was saying, the more oxygen and light that can get in for the trees and everything, it keeps everything healthy and keeps it lean, clean, and green. So that is our saying. So this is the property after it's been cleaned up. And it looks great. There's still tons of plants. There's tons of color. It's just a matter of spacing everything properly. You could walk in between all of those plants, but it doesn't look like it. So you have to remember, it's kind of like when you're looking from a far distance, you could have more spacing than you realize. So lean, clean, and green is what we try to tell everybody. Your extended zone, that's your 30 to 100 feet zone. Again, spacing and hygiene are key. So we have this picture, we also have it on our website, and it's basically just showing everybody the different zones, how much spacing is needed, and where all your key areas are. Your extended zone, like I said, the limb up or the skirt the trees to give space below the canopy. The picture before this, it looked like a huge bush. You couldn't even tell if there were multiple trees. So limbing it up and skirting it, it's basically taking off all those limbs that build up at the bottom so it doesn't just fuel the trees right up. Your slope, the steeper the slope, the more space you're gonna need. Like we said, spacing and hygiene are key. So if you have a steeper slope and you need more space because they could be, 5 feet, 10 feet apart, but if it's on a slope, it's just gonna hit it and go right up. Here's the perfect picture to show that. So in the top picture, you have, there's your bushes and then there's your trees. So if you have your shrubs in the bottom left picture, and if you, as you can see, 4 times up, it's like 20 feet is the way you have to have it. It's kind of weird, I know, because of the way the slopes are. So in the picture on the right, it's trying to show you the distance, 30 feet, it's about 6 times. So moderate to steep sloping. So the embers and the fire bands, those are the biggest things you need to worry about. They can be carried or blown a mile or more. A lot of these wildfires that have been happening, the embers have just been basically killing everybody and burning everything. Extreme conditions, if it's dry or windy, they could be flown 5 miles. So it can start a whole nother forest fire, whole other wildfire, everything just from one ember being flown over and going. Question is, what is it gonna land on? Is it gonna self-extinguish? Is it gonna smolder? Is it gonna ignite? If it lands on your house, we don't want that. So we do offer home ignition zones, as you guys know. So it's called being, we have to be ember aware. Where is it going to land and where is it going to catch on fire? So the picture we have, so let's go with the picture on the right first. That is actually my manager Eugenia's house. So before it was cleaned up, obviously. So where do needles and leaf debris accumulate on the property? right? You need to look at where it's landing. It lands on the roof and it collects, it gets in the gutter. So you have to make sure you clean those out. How many times have you drove by someone's gutter and you see stuff growing out of the gutters on their house? So we're going to look at the picture on the left now. Basically, this is going to be, you know, everybody's home right here. The problem is there is over 20 different ways this house can catch on fire. How about somebody give me some examples in this picture? Come on, somebody's.
Would you want examples of where the ignition points are? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, out of all of these points, tell me a number and tell me why it's bad.
Oh, well, the interesting one would be that we don't think about a lot, but it's like 15, 12, the ones down at the bottom. We think about the roof, we think about the other things, but there's no underneath the house stuff that can happen.
Correct. Underneath the house, like you were saying, 12 and 15, like everybody has like a lot of bushes right up to their porch or a lot of plants, things like that. How much spacing do you have underneath your porch, patio, deck? Can embers get under there? And then it's just going to smolder and go. If you look at the picture, like on your porch, number 11, there's a chair. How many people have wooden chairs or combustible chairs that are on the porch?
Yeah.
Right? That catches, it goes. I mean, look at the car. Windows are open. An ember lands in there and it's just going to go up like a chimney.
Huh.
Garbage cans open. The debris left on the roof that's collecting by the windows or even in the gutters.
What is number 1? Is that, is it supposed to be a shake roof or is it?
Correct.
Asphalt?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Nope, you got it. Shake roof. Very good. Yes.
Tara, how much we have on our house? We changed some years ago to a metal shake. The metal, you know, it looks like a shake roof, but it's out of metal. Are there any downsides to that? I heard that sometimes they can kind of contain sort of a little inferno inside, and I was just wondering what the gossip is on it.
Well, every roof, I mean, everything is going to have its pros and its cons to it, right? So you have that benefit, like the benefit of it being metal, but like you were saying, if something starts on the inside, then it's just going to hold it in like a little oven. So it depends, like which were you trying to solve, right? And I would like to think it would be the wildfire part of it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So, inside is more like an incubator for an oven, like baking a pie or something like that. So,
but it's great for wildfires because it's not going to be a combustible roof.
Right.
So,
what about excuse me for asking, but what about this? Like on our flat roof, it's a relatively new material and it's sort of like a polyethylene. It's like almost looks like a rubber blanket.
Oh, I'm not sure about that actually.
Yeah, and I've got to ask the roofer what what the name of it is, because
I'm not sure about that. Because
it was touted as when we were thinking about putting some solar up there, they said they needed the current gravel roof wouldn't work. We had to re-roof it. He recommended it's sort of it's almost like an insulation underneath and then like almost like a rubbery looking blanket on top.
Oh, I'm not sure. Does anyone else know anything about that?
It might just melt.
Well, so theoretically, the roofer said this was the latest and greatest. So I'll have to find out what the name of it is and then run it by you, Tara.
Okay, yeah.
The reason I say it might just melt because our artificial lawn is not flammable. It will melt.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the roofing material it's a little bit different. Hopefully it's a little bit different. Otherwise, I guess I'll just put a bucket underneath it. But anyway, I'll find out, Tara. I'll let you know.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So like I was saying, like in this picture, there are so many things. So there's so many more things that you're kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about it. On top of the chimney, do you have a cap on top? So this way embers don't go flying in or out, so forth. Like number 17, the trees are butted up right next to the house. So there's many things that you're kind of like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That makes sense.
What is number 7? What's 7 about?
Let me see.
On the top of the garage, the very peak of the garage.
Oh, that's the vent to the garage. Do you have like a great big, like just air vent, or is it got the special screen?
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Is it screened in? Does it have the screen so that the embers can't get in?
Oh, I got
Or do
you.
you just have the big vents? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So look at this. Look at all those embers flying towards the house. So if they get through your defensible space, great. Okay. So what are they going to land on? So there's the problem. So if they get through, what are they going to land on? Everything's burning up right to the house. So it's just going to light the house on fire. So that's what you have to think of. Those little guys are the ones that are going to get through. What are they going to land on? And are they going to catch my house on fire? Your decks and your fence. Can they get underneath? The picture on the right, it shows an ember went underneath and it's super dry under there. And it just started a deck fire. And luckily they were able to get it out in time. But it's the kind of thing where you don't expect it. So how does your decking and your fencing, is it treated? Is it, cleared away? Things like that. Your roof fence. What kind of roof fence do you have? Do they have the screens on it that stops the embers from coming in and getting through? You got to check those kind of things. Your skylights, your chimneys, your skylights, you need to make sure that you remove accumulated debris from around them. You want to make sure you try to replace the acrylic glass for tempered glass. Many things now are tempered glass, but a lot of the old school stuff is still acrylic. And so you want to make sure it's tempered glass. So if it breaks and shatters, is it tempered or not? Will it cut you or not? Chimneys, you want to cover your chimney and stovepipe with outlets. You want to make sure the chimney is at least 10 feet away from tree branches. Do not want to have tree branches near your chimney.
Can you tell, how do you tell if your glass is tempered or not?
Wow, I love that question. Who was that? What was your name?
Mike Grady. He's another one of the steering committee.
I love it. Look at the one I just hopped on here. So as you can see in the picture on the right, the one that says tempered bug, you can see if you have the tempered glass, it'll have it etched in the corner of it.
Great, thank you.
So you'll be able to tell. So that's when it's etched in there. So thank you for asking that question. It makes me feel like I put this in there for a reason.
Yeah.
Do they also do that on skylights?
If it's tempered, it should be. If it's tempered, they should all be marked. So this way you're aware.
How would you see that they're 14 feet off the floor?
Binoculars.
You might have to climb on the roof, Martha.
No, don't climb on the roof.
We have about 9 skylights, so it's kind of a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say maybe call somebody to help.
Carol, one quick question. I was so fascinated by the illustrations, but the obviously tempered is what tempered is, but the danger of the acrylic and the other choices for a skylight are the shattering, and then what acrylic?
It'll just melt.
Melt, okay.
Because it's acrylic, so when the heat comes up, it's just going to melt, and then it's just going to add fuel to the fire, essentially.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right, super. The illustrations are great, Tara.
Thanks. Another thing are your windows. Are they dual paned? Are they tempered? Your dual pane. If they're dual paned, I'm hoping that everyone understands the concept of dual pane already because they've been around for a while. So the concept with it, the radiant energy exposure and how it keeps everything cooler, keeps everything warmer. So, and it helps great with fires. As you can see on the picture on the top right, it's a broken dual pane, but it didn't break all the way through both panes. It broke through one pane. So it saved the house from catching on fire. It did its job. So dual pane, it helps with the heat, it helps with cooling, but it helps because it's an extra layer of protection for your home. Do you have shutters on your house? If so, are they wood? Are they vinyl? Are they plastic? Are they just going to melt? Are they going to add fuel to the fire? Are they just going to help your house catch on fire even more? Yes, they look beautiful on houses, but is it something that is it worth having if you knew that was the cause of your whole house going down? kind of something to look at. Your foundation, your exterior walls. You want to make sure you remove all combustible materials. Make sure you don't have anything under the house, next to the house. You want to use closure devices on all your vents. Your dryer vents, does it have a special, I mean, does it close up so nothing can go inside? Does all of your vents, does all of your, what is the vents underneath the house? The crawl space vents, that's what I was trying to think.
Right.
Are all of those covers, are all the screens the 1/8 inch metal? Because I went around my house and I was like, wow, none of these are 1/8. Because a lot of them, when they were built, they didn't need to have that back then. So I actually just went and got some 1/8 inch metal screen and just fitted it over top of the old screen. Because I mean, just more screen, it's not going to hurt. But it's another added protection. Was not hard to do at all. Look at this picture. What's burning in this picture? It's not the trees next to it, it's the house, because the house is so combustible that given the right ember, it can just go up in flames. And that's what we want to try to avoid. Are there any questions or answers? Wait, before you do, I'm going to show you guys my resource page. This is a page that we have on here for, we have Alert SCC on there. So this way, if there's any emergencies, they have them. We have the Santa Clara County Fire Department. We have the Santa Clara County Fire Safe, Cal Fire, Ready for Fire. We have Ready Safe Santa Cruz on there. Why the Los Altos Hills one is not on here, I'm so sorry. It is not, but I should have that on there. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll let you we'll get it on there.
So, yeah.
Tara, this is great. It's a different perspective than the earlier one that Lynn did that was more of an introductory, but this is, you know, down and dirty is what you need to do, and very helpful. Are there, when you put the list up of all the different agencies involved, I think one of the things is sometimes gets confusing for people is if they, you know, see a fire and the, you know, the idea is don't call 911 and say, what's that smoke on the hill? Unless the smoke, you know, whatever judgment you need to make on that. But there's a lot of different kind of resources, Twitters and Facebooks and different sites. And of these, would you say that in an actual fire or detected conflagrants going on near your home, these organizations are structured for what we're doing is building the awareness, building the education, but you wouldn't necessarily call SCC Firewise. If you see smoke and fire, you call the actual agency. But I mean, do you have a breakdown of where some of these ones would be next to call on your list? Well,
for next to call, or if you're just curious about a fire, so you could always go to Cal Fire's website and you can see if there's any current fires, what the containment is, what the size of it, if it's been reported, things like that. So if you're not sure, that helps.
Sometimes we found that since where Los Altos Hills goes right up to Skyline, and that's the end of Los Altos Hills, not only incorporated, unincorporated, and everything in between, but Skyline is also the boundary between Santa Clara County and Santa Cruz County. And so like from my house and other people's house that are on the air here, you can actually see smoke coming from way up the hill, right? And so I remember not too long ago, we were seeing smoke in a particular area over toward Ladera, I believe it was, but it wasn't clear where it was coming from. And when we called, you know, the contacts in Santa Clara County, I think because we was in two different counties that they maybe hadn't gotten the word yet or something. Is there something that, you know, bridges that gap a little bit, or what would you, if you were with that dilemma, what would you advise?
Victoria, I think, I'm guessing you might be a better person to answer this.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I actually called Victoria at the time, so she's firsthand knowledge. Yeah.
So what we recommend is Zone Haven. That's what Zone Haven is for. So if you go on the Community Zone Haven platform, you should be able to see information from all the surrounding areas.
Oh.
That's one way. The other way is my recommendation, and it's great. They don't go into a lot of detail, but at least you'll have a kind of an update, is Pulse Point. Pulse Point actually is all medical. You can pick police, don't quote me on that one, and EMS. So I know a lot of people, have asked us this in the past, and those are the ones that I would suggest for quick information. CAL FIRE won't be on there as it's not our responding agency. However, no, it's okay. But, if it becomes a big fire, it's going to be, right, CAL FIRE is going to come in and, take over or work with County Fire, right? But I think for a quick fix, to kind of find out what's going on, Pulse Point is great. Pulse Point will actually send you an alert on your phone. You just have to make sure you put the right agencies in there. So my suggestion for your area is still do CAL FIRE. That's always a good one to do. I would do Santa Clara County Fire Department, because that's your responding agency. And then I would also do Palo Alto Fire. And so you're also around there that's not covered. I think that should cover pretty much the area that you'll be probably more concerned about. That's a quick way to find out those things, because you really don't want to take up 911 call lines to ask about things. It's better to go on these kind of platforms first. And then, obviously Alert SCC will give you the actual evacuation warning or alert through Nixle or SCC, so that okay, that actually is closer than it seems, or and that's kind of what we try and get people to do. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you might remember from the last major thing we had was people up still in the Los Altos Hills area, but close to Skyline, more toward Saratoga, that end, the south end of town. Is they actually inadvertently got some alerts that were for the Santa Cruz fire, which, was inadvertent, but then the other side of it was the Santa Cruz County Fire started coming up to the ridge, and people were feeling, and I think some people actually evacuated that were close to Skyline on the east side of Skyline. So So I guess that's one of the areas, like where we are on Saddle Mountain, we're very, very close to the San Mateo County line. So when I saw one fire a few years ago, I contacted one of our hams who I knew had contacts up in the Ladera area, because it was the park that's just, on the Arrestadero Road, Arrestadero Park. And it was burning up toward Ladera, which is, a couple miles from where our northern boundary is. So it's more the kind of political intersections, and there's some annoying thing about fire. It doesn't necessarily pay attention to county lines. So that's where I think a lot of the concerns that people have voiced to me is when you're near Santa Cruz County line, or you're near San Mateo County and you're in Santa Clara County, or whatever, why then those are where sometimes there's a gap in information.
Yes, and you're correct, because they don't always, they coordinate on fire channels, but they don't always coordinate through, straight to each other unless needed. Usually, they'll set that up, doesn't come right away. So that would be my suggestion. Pulse Point is calls that are actually being dispatched to those fire agencies. And then Zone Haven would be one I would use for potential for fire, because San Mateo has been using Zone Haven for a couple of years now. They've already been utilizing it. Yeah. So that would be where I would go. Santa Clara County Fire Department, sometimes they'll put out Twitters about responses, but not all the time. It's not a committed thing that they put out. So they're not always the best to go on either. And obviously, Fire Safe is a community resource, not necessarily a response agency. So so Pulse Point, And if you guys want, I can do a separate little Zoom on how to sign up for these things.
That'd be great.
Because it can be a little daunting, I think, especially Pulse Point, because you want to add in all these people. So I can definitely do that if you guys want to do that as a secondary Zoom at some point.
Yeah, and I think sometimes because as tonight was a testament to, I think the message went out to about 30 some people that we've got on our distribution, 35, I think. But it's hard. There's about 35 variations on when people can meet. And so some people either still at work or whatever, or some people are on their way back or things like that. So it's just a really kind of a challenge for an expanded community to try to figure out a common time. And night times in our town are always either a council, a planning commission, or something, you know. So it's very, as Yissi who's on planning commission can testify to, it's not easy to find an evening that's available here. But I'm glad it's recorded, because one of the things I will do is when Victoria, are you the mastermind of the recording then?
Yeah, so once we're done here and we end the meeting, it'll record, and then I need to edit it. And then once we do that, you can send it out to the group of 30, and that way they can watch it. But I just need to edit out some chit chat at the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I have
this would be great, because I think that would help a lot of people who are there. I had at least a couple of people that said that they wouldn't be able to attend out of town or had a different engagement. So right. Each of them did ask for recording. So I think that's going to be
that's not a problem. Hari, did you have something? I'm sorry. And can I get your last name, because we have to keep a list?
Sure. My last name is spelled S like Sam, A-N-K-A-R, Sankar.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then sorry,
Hari's on Stirrup, Victoria. He's my Stirrup representative.
Oh, great. Hari, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. You know, I missed the first part of this, so you may have answered this. Apologies if you did. So you were talking about various things like, you know, double pane windows and tempered glass and, you know, metal screens and things like that. Are there outfits that will come inspect your home and tell you which ones are okay, where you may need some remediation work, that sort of thing? Is there a service like that available?
Yes, we do. We offer HIZs. That's where they come and they will come and see your, come and check out your house. It's a home ignition zone. They'll come and check all the different areas, and they'll basically come do a walk around your whole property, and it is free of charge. And they will basically just kind of sit there and go, this one, this over here, over this over, and just kind of give you a list of everything that you could do to help prepare your house better.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think Martha, you had that, or did you have the HIV come to your houses yet?
Yeah, we did, and it didn't take much time, and it was very thorough. And one of my concerns is this big forest below our house, and he said, "You've got enough defensible space between that and the deck. Don't worry about it."
Oh yeah, I forget the name of those trees, but they're
Buckeyes.
Buckeye, yeah, they're dry at a different time of the year than when you expect them to be dry. So
then you just need to make sure your home is prepared, like we were saying. Like you have the defensible space around your home. So we do have on our website, we do have a home hardening page, and there's different things in there that we talk about that you could replace, or like I said, the screens and things like that. So different ways you can go and harden your home and things like that.
Is it on the menu on your page, your home hardening, or is there an easy way to get it?
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay, super. Well, this is real good. Anybody else got some questions?
One question I have, this is Martha again. Can you send out these slides?
Yeah, absolutely. I will make a PDF of it, and I will send it to Victoria so she could send it out with the presentation, with the recorded.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Victoria, I'll get with me, because I've been BCCing people because the list is so long, but at this point I may CC everybody, and then the devil take the hindmost, I guess. But yeah, I have the distribution of the people who were invited to the meeting.
Yep. Okay. That sounds good.
Question from John. You mentioned several times Zone Haven. I don't know what that is, but you don't seem to have it on the list there. I would like further explanation, maybe.
John, did you get a packet in the mail that talked about, there was like a Know Your Zone, and it talked about Zone Haven that was sent to every resident in the town?
Was it from Fire?
I may have received it and neglected it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was sent a couple of months ago, and it had all the information on Zone Haven and how to figure out what your zone is. I can send you, do we have a copy of it somewhere?
Victoria, how about this? Since we have a distribution for most of the segments of this particular zone, if there's something that you just provide me, I can send it out to the people who are you know, that got invited to this meeting, and I think that if it's in a form that you can send online, yeah, right.
I apologize if I neglected it. Or,
that's okay. That's okay.
It's hard to keep track of mail stuff.
Well,
yeah, it is.
I didn't know if that was a resource that we should go to for
you.
If we had
definitely.
Questions.
Yes, you definitely want to do that.
You know, such as, okay, several times you mentioned smell smoke or see smoke or whatever, see fire, and where do you go first? And I don't know if that was one or not, or if that's just an overall organization of something else.
Yeah, Zone Haven will have updates on it. I don't know how quick they update to the community side. I know operationally they update a lot quicker. That's why my suggestion would be to do Pulse Point as well, so that you have kind of you have Pulse Point. Okay.
I do have Pulse Point. I just didn't know about Zone Haven.
Yeah, Zone Haven, so, I would think would be more of a like a you know, as a dependable thing would be more like a background, but you know, they were obviously doing more and more, so it's probably good to have on your radar. But if it's you know, a concern, of course you can always you know, go to one of the things that they've suggested, the Pulse Point or something like that, which will have very current live, you know, under your nose kind of information, which, you know, if that's what you're concerned about, why that's what you want to get to first. Is this going to be near me? Does it affect me? Can I get out?
Right. And John, do you know the microphone feature? Are you able to listen?
I'm sorry, do I know the microphone feature of which?
Of Pulse Point?
No, I don't.
So you can actually listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah. I always seem to struggle with that, but I have to listen to it daily because my husband always listens to it because he's a firefighter and he just needs to know everything. So I can have him, because I don't, since he has it, I don't bother, but I can also include that information on how to, or we can have a how-to session, which is probably easier to kind of show you everything. And I can send some links too on how to do the microphone part, because that also helps too, because you can hear them actually doing a size up of what they see and what's going on. So
that would be good. I think that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah. So as long as you have the right, you know, people in there, you know, Palo Alto Fire, it doesn't go, I don't think it goes by county. So, you know, we'll have to make sure you have the right players in there, the right agencies.
I have Palo Alto and also Santa Clara Fire Department.
Perfect. Santa Clara County or Santa Clara City?
Santa Clara County, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, you might want to check that. That's people get confused. I even get confused sometimes.
But
that's a separate
John's house, Victoria, is very near Pageville Road, you know, area.
Yes.
So
yes, I imagine he's
going
right
on
there.
Pageville Road. But yeah, I think that information probably. So maybe after you and I can have a powwow and see, you know, what do we need to pull together to send out to all the troops and and do that.
Yeah, that works.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Harry, did you, I know sometimes your schedule is such, it's hard for you to dial into these meetings, but are there any other things that we can bring you up to date on or refresh you on that you're interested in?
No, I'm good, Drew. Thanks for asking. What I'll do is, I think I missed the first few minutes of today's session. I'll go listen to your recording when you send it out.
Oh, super. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. And then I think the word up is that if you're on this program right at the moment, if you can reach out to people in your streets that you know your neighbors, and you know, pass on whatever information comes in. If we send something out, if you've got your own little distribution list of neighbors or friends in the zone, why please pass it along and make sure people know that periodically we'll be having these kinds of identity. And just from a housekeeping standpoint, As you know, and it's been a little bit of a challenge because we started out with the Saddle Mountain area, and then correspondingly the zone, you know, was get bigger. So so we've had to do a little bit of catch up, and it's taken a little longer than we had thought it would, but we're almost ready to submit our application. And this was one of the last key points, was to have an education meeting. And then once a year, if we're approved, we would also need at least one education event. And it could be a hands-on event, like we all get together and start, you know, bringing the bushes skirted up on our property, things like that. So we can do some fun things too. But at any rate, this was one of the things that are required for the application. And really appreciate the folks that have